Thursday. We're in our fireside chat, and I'm super excited for so many reasons. First of all, March is Women's History Month. So we're highlighting trailblazers and trendsetters who are women and who are doing great things in the community. And so we have Tameika here, who is one of our trailblazers. She's trailblazing the fields of, of faith and young people, and she's doing great work in the Bronx, New York. And I'm really excited to meet with her. But secondly, I'm going to tell you why March is special. Not only because it's my birthday, y'all, but because it's Social Work History Month. And I love social workers, not just because I am a social worker, but because social workers are so essential to our community. And so it's Social Work Month, it's Women's History Month, and we're highlighting not just women, but we're highlighting social workers as well. But today we have with us such an amazing trailblazer, Tameika, and she is going to talk to us about her work out in the Bronx with faith and young people. And so we want to just get started and jump right into it because I'm really excited to talk to you, Tameika. Thank you for
Yeah,
being with me and thank you for sharing this space with us. We appreciate you so much.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I always like to start off reading your bio because I think it's important for people to know who's talking to them, who's before them. But you have an amazing and extensive bio. You've been doing amazing work in ministry,
Mhm.
very educated woman, and just doing great work, trailblazing. So Tamika was born and raised in White Plains, New York. She has a degree in physical therapy from Touro College and a master's of arts and youth ministry from the New York Theological Seminary. She served as the youth minister at the Florida Manor Church for several years, and she is currently the area director for Young Life Bronx Kingsbridge, where she serves faithfully and feels that every kid in the Bronx deserves to have a loving and caring adult walking alongside them as they journey through life. That is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
She believes that the next generation of youth will be our future leaders. They'll be our game changers in their schools, communities, and beyond. You talking my language, Tamika. And she vows to continue doing her part to guide young people into becoming the best versions of themselves that they can be. She is also the founder and CEO of Kingdom Kids Connection Consulting. Her hope is to help churches create space for young people to find community and support. And in her free time, Miss Kenny loves to travel. The beaches are a happy place. I don't know how much of the beaches you want, but she finds the water very peaceful and relaxing. I love it. Thank you so much. Anything I left out, Tamika, jump in and go
Oh,
for it.
that was great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Well, I would love to start off with just hearing about you, your work, and how you got into ministry. You have a theological degree, seminary degree. That's not an easy degree to get, only because I've
Mhm.
taken courses, and I understand it's a lot. So which means you have
Mhm.
studied, you are well articulate in this area, and so I want to hear from one of the experts. How'd you get into this area? What it's been like for you?
So I'm a church kid. I grew up in a church. I had wonderful experiences growing up at the church. I was involved with the choir, the youth ministry there, and from my experience and my interaction with faith, I wanted to be able to give that to other kids around me. So very at a very young age, I would say 15, 16, 17, around that age, I began just to place myself in areas where I can just be that one person that young people can trust. And then from there, my passion just grew. I became a Girl Scouts troop leader. I started doing things with young adults. I just found ways to place myself in situations where I can just be around young people and just try to make a difference. It does make a lot of difference for young people to know that there's one adult that's caring for them, that's rooting for them, that's in their corner. And I've had that growing up, and I wanted to be able to do that for other young people. I would say, going to seminary wasn't my idea of something I wanted to do because I knew it was difficult. I knew I was working a full time job. I was just like, I didn't know how everything was going to work. But God has a plan, and every time I would get in my car, I would hear the commercial for New York Theological Seminary and their new program in youth ministry. And I was like, yeah, I don't want any more debt. I don't want to do this. And I just kept doing it every time I get out of my car. So I knew it was no coincidence. So I finally just gave in. And in 2016, I graduated with my Master's of Arts in Youth Ministry. And that journey was awesome because I was able to put some biblical reference to some of the work I was doing over the years. And then from there, I was introduced to Young Life, and I made a complete career change and worked with Young Life and was able to do that full time. And I've been in the Bronx since 2015, where I started interning. I came on staff in 2016 and I've been there ever since. It has been a very rewarding and fulfilling experience for me. Every morning I get up, I'm excited to go to work, I'm excited to be around the kids. I know that not a lot of kids have, parents that can actually be present at everything. So I take pride in the fact that through my work, I'm able to be there. I'm able to be at the basketball games. I'm able to be at the award ceremony. I'm able to go to the schools, talk to a teacher on behalf of a kid and a parent if needed be. So it's just nice to be able to do what I have been purposed and called to do.
That's amazing. And it's so seamless in terms of you were a child and you were a church girl from the very beginning. And
Hmm.
you had these amazing positive experiences. And I love that because, just staying there for a moment, I think a lot of times when people talk about their experience in church,
Hmm.
typically it's just this negative experience of like, oh,
Hmm.
it's hurt.
Hmm.
And not to downplay people's experiences because people truly have been hurt in different institutions. But I love the fact that yours is centered on this really positive experience that you were able
Hmm.
to turn around and then want to, and you essentially it became your career.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear, what was it like being a church girl? What was that like for you?
So I was always coined the good girl, the goody two shoes, because my parents didn't allow me to go to the parties on Friday night. If there was a youth service, I was going to the youth service.
Yes,
I
service.
really didn't get, yes, I didn't get a chance to go to the parties at the school because they ended too late. And my parents was like, no, you're coming home. So at first it was, at that time, I felt like, oh, my parents are being mean. But what I've learned over the years that they were really shielding me from a lot of different things that
Oh,
one of my other friends may have gotten involved in, but I didn't because I wasn't around that,
right.
and my focus became different. Not to downplay, going to clubs and parties, but then that wasn't something I needed to do in order to have fun. I didn't need to drink and get drunk and smoke weed in order to say I'm having a good time. I found other ways to have a good time.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, I felt like my parents were getting, were just mean. How could they do this to me? I want to be around my friends. And then it became like I wanted to go to church. I wanted to be a part of the Bible study. Like I started yearning for the things of faith in order so that I can grow and share that when I got older.
I love that. And tell me more about in the church, what were some of the things that were positive, the things that you learned, the things that really impacted you within church? You talked about some of them already, but within the actual, church.
Yes.
Um,
So I would say the first thing was my pastor at the time when I was growing up. He was very active with us. So he made room for us. I'll say that was like the first thing. Him making room for us and us feeling like we had a part in the church or a place in the church. That was the start of the impact. And then we had our youth Bible studies where the youth leaders didn't just end their time with us on Tuesdays. They continued to be in relationship with us throughout the week, whether it was just taking us to the grocery store with us. They would find ways to hang out with us and to do life with us, which is impactful because not many young adults wanted to hang around kids, and you have these few adults that loved hanging around with kids. And I would say that's where I learned my faith. I learned faith through my constant interaction with Bible study and really understanding the sacrifice Jesus made. And then it became real to me. It didn't become just my mom's faith or my father's faith. It became my faith because then I learned what he did for me personally. And then from there, my faith just grew because now my vision of what faith is and who Jesus was just changed completely once I started owning it for me.
that's beautiful. I love that so much. And I'm thinking, as you were talking about the youth leaders and the things that you all did, I was all like envisioning, a group of kids being in Bible study and then being with the leaders and going to the store and just
Mhm.
this sort of bond and family that you essentially build.
Mhm.
I love that so much. I think that is really what the church should be doing.
Yes.
Um, it's relationship, it's about intimacy, it's about a
Mhm.
village, right?
Mhm.
And I
Yes.
think churches are such strong institutions that provide this to communities. And
Yes.
I'm a huge, huge believer in making sure that churches are in a part of what's going on and are answers to a lot of the problems that do
Mhm.
exist. And so, I come from a church ministry, actually, the Bible Church of Christ. We had the Bishop Darrell Bryant. Oh my goodness, sorry, Bishop Darrell Bryant. If he's watching this, he might be watching it at some point. He came on here on this fireside chat. It blessed us last year, I believe it was. We had a mental health and faith series. We brought different pastors on and we talked about mental health. We talked
Mhm.
about how do we deal with this in the realm of the church, because the reality is we're mind, body, soul, and spirit, right? And so how do we deal with those different dimensions of us, and how
Mhm.
do we deal with the mind, the will, the emotions, which is the soulish part of us. And so
Right.
he came on and we talked, and it was such a great time to hear what he's doing and what he's trying to do with the young people out in the South Bronx. He's a great person to connect with. Uh,
Yes.
but all that to say, I grew up in youth ministry where it was very much like a village, and the moms were my moms. So
Mhm.
youth leaders, they were ones that took me under their wings. To this day, they're my I'm still their baby,
Yes.
and doesn't matter how old I am, I will always be their baby. So,
Mhm.
and so these are people that were role models, and they poured into the young people, and they taught us things like etiquettes and self-esteem and self-confidence, um,
Mhm.
and how to apply for a job, and how to uh, keep a job, right? How to
Right.
choose your career, and these are skills that we learn in the house of God in church.
Mhm.
I'd love to
Mhm.
hear what's your vision for really just helping our young people in today's world and church.
So, I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen the good of churches that have youth ministry, and I've seen the bad of churches that had youth ministry. And I
Yeah,
find three things very simple. One, churches need to find value in young people.
love it.
I know, the news may not paint a great picture of young people, and they seem like they are, a lot of trouble. Um, but when you find value in them, you will want to be around them. You
Yeah,
will want to help bring change in their world. And then, two, getting to know them, building relationships. That is a huge part of young people starting to trust an adult. I know in my Young Life work, one of our mottos is we earn the right to be heard in their lives.
yeah,
Like, we put in time to get to know these young people, and for these young people to trust us and our voice. We invite them into our world so they can see that we're real and that we want to be in their lives. I have, me personally, a doctor can't tell me about me if I don't know their credentials.
mhm,
And it's the same thing. Kids don't want to hear from us unless they know us a little intimately. And
yeah,
then the third thing is to create spaces where young people, positive spaces, I should say, where young people can come to and just feel at home, whatever that might look like, open mic night,
love it.
open gym nights, whatever that may look like, where young people can come in the community of the church and be a part of the fabric of the church. That would cause an influx of young people to want to come to that space.
Yes.
But those would be the three things I would say, would be a good place for churches to start.
I love that. I love that so much. And I apologize for looking down. I'm
That's
sharing
okay.
our message actively as we're speaking because I want people to hear this. I think it's so important to get this out. But one of the things that you mentioned is young people they want that relationship, and they do. Young people are
Mhm.
often cast away or casted aside and
Yes.
are not
Yes.
valued. Finding value in young people is so important. And I never heard it phrased this way, but I love the way you said it. We have to find value. They are of much value in many ways. Number one, because they're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Exactly.
Number two, because they hold so much information. They're credible messengers, right? We want to know what's going on. Ask the young person. Ask if
Mhm.
they know what's going on.
Yes.
Secondly, their minds are brilliant. They are
Mhm.
brilliant. You're talking about Gen Z, Alpha. These kids
Yes.
they
Yes.
move faster than us. They move faster than our generation.
Hmm.
They have ideas. They're just creative. And why will we not find value in that?
Exactly.
And so
Hmm.
I think sometimes when we don't understand, we tend to reject. And I think that's what happens
Right.
a lot of
That's
times
what it is.
and churches where we don't understand our youth today. And so we reject them and say, we don't want to be a part of what's going
Mhm.
on. We don't want to be
Mhm.
a part of the social media and all this stuff. Right. But I think it's important that, like as you mentioned, we start creating programs or just opportunities and spaces
Mhm.
for young people to be connected because they need to. A lot of young people don't feel connected, they feel alienated or isolated in these
Mhm.
places, or they're thrown to the side. They're not given leadership opportunities to lead,
Yes.
to be connected, and to do something to feel a part of the community. But I love what you're saying. I love it so much. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering, how do we move churches into this place? How do we get churches to adopt this type of mindset or culture for our youth?
Well, I would say it's finding that one person within a church that get it, that understands the value and wants to be around young people. It only takes one person to change the way the group thinks. So I
Yes.
would say first finding that one person, and then having that one person become the rally, become that the voice of, let's start, being in young people's lives within our community, and in whatever way that looks like. But it's always finding that one person that wants to take the baton and run with it,
Mm,
would be a good way. And then helping churches understand that we have to do things a little differently now.
yes.
It's not going to work. When I grew up in church, my mom and dad brought me to church. My
Right.
dad drove me to Sunday school every morning. He was a Sunday school teacher. So there I was. My mom came after, because she was at home trying to cook and doing whatever she was doing.
Right.
But it was parents that all my friends, our parents brought us to church, and times have changed. It's not like that now. The kids that would come with me to church, their parent will let them come with me because they trusted me. So I brought them to church. So I became that person that introduced them to the church culture. So it's having churches understand and church leaders understand that the times have changed.
Yes.
When I grew up, I had to wear the dress and the frilly socks and the shoes. There was no pants in the church. There was a rule. That can't be now.
Same.
Young people are not, buying dresses, and they don't understand what that means. Like, I just want to go to church. Like, let me come in how I want to come in. And then and allow them to, as they grow in their faith, they will want to change what they're wearing. Maybe from like a short skirt to a longer skirt, or from short pants, tight pants to something a little more formal to come in church. But just understand and being welcoming to them as they are right now, and understanding that as you welcome them in and you really build relationship with them and actually talk to, like, have a conversation with them and not talk at them but talk with them, things would change.
I love what you're saying. I love it. And you said as they are, and it really is the essence of, we think about Christ. We think about Christ, and we're not preaching here, but just biblically speaking,
Right.
I don't remember one time in the Bible where he went and said, you got to change all of this in order for me to come to you.
Right.
He
Right.
came to them as they were. And I think that really is the essence of what we need to extract when we're working with young people. We're looking for them to change everything or to be perfect or to be at a certain level. When the reality is we're not even perfect. we're,
At all.
we're not even at a certain level. We're struggling. I
Yes.
make a joke, and this is probably going to be really inappropriate right now, but Lord forgive me. My pastor on Sunday actually said, you adults here be sitting here, you know, condemning these young people about them feeling some kind of way in their hormones, and y'all dealing with the same thing.
Mhm.
And and I thought about that, and adults were laughing in the room because they knew it was
Mhm.
true.
It was
But
true.
I think that is real. It's the real. It's we have been taught or raised by a generation, and to an extent of I won't show you where it hurts. I won't show you my
Mhm.
vulnerabilities. I won't. I'm not going to be transparent with you. And a lot of times that's what we're given to kids, and they don't want that.
Right.
Kids don't
Right.
want the fake. They don't want it. They don't want it. They want authenticity. They want transparency. They want
Yes.
realness. This is what they crave. And so, even the ideology of you need to be perfect or you need to be at a certain level in order for us to
Mhm.
accept you, that's so far fetched because we're not there and we probably will never get there, right? Because
Yes.
we're always striving every single day. But I love the fact that, when what you mentioned, we have to take them as they are,
Mhm.
as they are.
Mhm.
That's where we need to start.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with one of my young kids who, I met her when she was 13, and she's 21, and she's about to graduate from Manhattanville College in December. And she said to me one day, I think we were coming from the city, and we were walking to our car, and she goes, you're a pretty cool adult. And I was like, okay, thanks. She's like, no, you love Jesus and you're cool. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So it is the fact she noticed. Like, she knows I wasn't this stuffy person. I wasn't
Yeah.
telling her she couldn't be who she really is or who she was at the time. And I accepted her for who she was. There's another young girl. She cursed a lot. And she would curse in our conversations, but when she figured out that I wasn't cursing along with her, her language changed, and it was more positive. And she learned that she can use other words besides cursing. But adults have to be okay with all of their messiness in order to get to the real
Say
person
that
that
one more
God
time.
has called them to be. Adults need to be okay with the messiness of kids in order for them to bloom into who God has called them to be.
Yes. Messiness. Because when you're dealing with young people, that's exactly when you're dealing with people,
Period. Right.
period, you're going to deal with messiness because people have real issues.
Mhm.
Young people today are dealing with real
Yeah.
things, things that we were never exposed to. We say this all the time, but I don't know if we understand the impact of it, the access and the exposure to levels of violence and levels of just material and content they shouldn't even see. But
Yes.
they're seeing it online, they're consuming it at large numbers. They're, a young person, we had a mental health roundtable discussion last year. It was led by youth, and one young person, he was adopted or in foster care. He wasn't adopted, he was in foster care. And he was saying, I walk down the street every day and I have to look over my shoulder
Mhm.
because I don't know if I'm going to get shot. I don't know if I'm going to die.
Mhm.
This is what I think about
Mhm.
every day. There's a young person
Yeah.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So if kids are thinking about whether they're gonna live or die, you're talking about
Mhm.
issues here now, right? Kids are
Right.
they have vicarious trauma, which means they have seen trauma. They may not have
Yes.
directly experienced it, but they have seen it, and now they're dealing with it. Some of them have direct and complex trauma that's been
Mhm.
passed out from generation to generation. They've been exposed to so much, and so it's how do you why do you expect anything less than mess?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And it's getting adults and it's really getting churches to understand just that. The kids, I remember growing up and I don't remember being exposed to half of the things, that they have access to right now. Like, I don't even think we had the internet access like they do right now. No. And I played with my Cabbage Patch Kids for a long time.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7, 8, I was still playing with dolls as opposed to now the kids now they have their cell phones, they're riding the trains by themselves, like they're going to the bodega by themselves, like they're doing a lot of things
Yeah.
on their own at a younger age because they have more responsibility because that parent may be working and they need milk in the house or they need some eggs. Like, so there's a responsibility that kids carry right now that's so different. And to have them connected to a church that can lift some of the burdens off some of these young people.
Yes. Tell me more about that. What are the benefits to a young person being connected to a church and to a faith institution? So when they're connected to a church, what are the benefits to that? What do they get?
So first, I would say definitely adult support and community. A lot of kids are lacking that because not because for any reason, but because they don't have maybe not have the family or their mom or dad are working a lot, so they don't have their support there. So just to have the support of the community that's really encouraging them, and then secondly, letting them know that that God has a great plan for their lives and actually exposing them to that, whether it's teaching them how to write a resume, taking them to different workshops where they can explore what different careers, letting them see life outside of their messiness and what they're living in now. And then secondly, being introduced to faith. Like that is a huge thing. Like this, them having the opportunity to know that God is with them, that God loves them, that God has a plan for them, that God will never leave them nor forsake them. Just them hearing those things to encourage them on their journey, that's the largest benefit of these kids being connected to a church and having some type of faith organization.
It's a community of support. It's a village.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
they have access to a village. And can I tell you, there are, and we know this, right? But those that are listening to that may not know the benefits, there are tons of professionals that attend churches,
Yep. Yep. Yes.
stars,
Hmm.
actors, sports, athletes, lawyers, social workers, teachers, doctors, principals, architects. They're in the churches.
Yes.
There. There's mentorship, there's access there, there is a village of support. A lot of times, I grew up in an age where I didn't have much. I was poor. And
Mhm.
so guess who gave me allowance?
Mhm.
Church
The
did.
church. Yes.
When I had to
Yes.
go to Africa for the first time and I didn't have the money, guess who raised it?
The church.
The church did.
Absolutely.
And every graduation I was in, guess who was there? They were there.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
it's an extension of like it's a community, it's a support,
Mhm.
and they're so resourceful. And I wish my vision, along with yours, would be that they understand their value,
Yes.
understand the value that they bring
Yes.
to communities, and that we work better as a collective with communities and churches and schools to
Yes.
understand the value that each of us play, and how strong we are when we play it together.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the word. We're better together. When we can join forces to reach these young people in the community, so many great things can come about that. And just having kids just be around, it's kids that's going to be the next generation that takes the churches to the next level. If the church doesn't have the kids there, what's going to happen to the church? They need the younger voice in the church now that's going to be trained and equipped to carry out the church vision for years to come.
That's
And
right.
if we can get that and understand that, it'll be a world of difference. And I believe that we would see a lot of change in our young people and in what's happening in our world today.
I love that so much. I love it so much. And we're coming to a close, but as we're closing, I want you to tell me what would it look like in a world where churches took kids in and saw their value and brought them in and connected them and put them into places of leadership and created opportunities for them. What would that look like?
I would say, for one, the young people can bring, the social media world in the church and have that clash, and build a presence there. So technology would just be different as we introduce our young people into the churches, and give them leadership in that. And then creating a voice, a space where the young people can now be the voice of the church that now reaches out to other young people that says, come on in, this is a safe space. So by giving them the opportunity to lead and to grow, that's just encouraging other young people to come into church. And the church is just going to overflow by then of young people that's on fire for God and that wants to allow other kids to know about this great thing and this great God that they just learned about.
I love it. And then one thing that I want to add to that, and I love what you said. For people that may wonder, and I think this was one of our questions we didn't answer, but why is faith important? Because when we think about, anytime we're in a crisis, what do we do first?
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
we do
yeah,
first? We're
yeah.
in a crisis, when we've lost somebody, when the world is flipped upside down. what do we do first?
Yep. We're going straight to God.
We
Yep.
choose to pray, right? So
Hmm.
no matter
Hmm.
if you're atheist, whatever you are, the first thing we do is we say, wait a minute.
Hmm.
We
Yep.
recognize that
And
there,
stop.
right?
Yes.
So I believe that, research supports this as well. Faith is the most protective factor against trauma
Hmm.
and every other antisocial behavior in kids.
Hmm.
It's, drug abuse, right? We think about
Yes.
road to recovery. First, that the thing that they're doing is acknowledging that there is a God, that there is a,
Yes.
right. They're acknowledging that through their recovery because they're realizing I can't do this on my own strength. So
Hmm.
there's an acknowledgement of that, right? So just walking through the steps of why faith is important. Secondly, it combats kids or people that are violent or violent
Hmm.
tendencies.
Yes.
Having faith, it helps pull you back from these violent ways or violent tendencies, right? Having faith, it helps you to overcome even things
Hmm.
like mental depression, or anxiety or other issues that you're dealing with. This is what faith does. It combats actively these things. So I always talk to and challenge my social workers, especially those listening, don't shun the faith of your patients and your
Yes.
clients. Bring it into the session. Don't be
Hmm.
afraid.
Hmm.
Bring that in because that is the most protective factor. And that's a tool in your toolbox that you're probably not even utilizing within your sessions with clients.
Yes.
Talk to them about their spirituality and their faith.
Hmm.
It goes hand in hand with mental health. So this is why
Agreed.
it's important. And there's so many other reasons, but I love for you. You can expound on that and then we'll close with that.
I definitely agree with everything you just said, and also just to bring hope to these young people. A lot of times they feel hopeless, and they feel like they have no other place to turn. No one has their back. No one understands them. But for them to understand their faith, and how important that is, how important God is in their daily lives, that just changes their vision of who they are. And once their vision changes of who they are, there's nothing that can stop them from being all that they can be. So yeah, I would just add that.
I love that. Gives hope. Gives
Mhm.
hope. That's amazing. Well, we appreciate you, Tameika, for
Thank you.
being on this platform and sharing your wealth of knowledge, your heart, your passion, everything that you're doing for the young people in the Bronx and beyond. We're grateful for it. We, again, before we jumped in, we realized that, hey, we had some alignment and your
Mhm.
kid came to one of our events years ago and now we're coming full circle.
Yeah.
But it's an honor to just talk to you and to hear about your experience. And I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
that we continue our partnership and if there's anything that your kids need, you can send them over to us. Anything our kids need, we can send them over to you because it's
Yes,
about building that village that our kids need.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you again for having me.
Thank you. And I want to shout out Young Life and Imani. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for your work and for what you're doing. We thank you all for watching and for tuning in today, and for listening to this fireside chat. Every Thursday, we're on. We're in a month of trailblazers, trendsetters, and trendsetting. And we'll be highlighting women and social workers that are trailblazing in their industries. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels, whether you're watching on YouTube, subscribe on LinkedIn or Facebook. Follow us so that we can make sure you're first to know about any content that is released. And lastly, every Friday, a new episode is released of our ATL Rise podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. This month, we have some great trailblazers out in Metro Atlanta. That's trailblazing industries in healthcare, education, politics, and church. We want you to listen. Tomorrow, we have a special episode featuring myself and Sean Smith, where we'll be talking about how to trailblaze in church and faith and how do we innovate in that space. So don't forget to subscribe, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or Podbeam. Subscribe so that you're first to be notified when there's new content. Thank you all again for watching. Stay tuned for our more updates and episodes. And we appreciate you so much. Be safe out there. Have a great weekend. Happy Women's History Month. Happy Social Work Month. Thank you so much, Tameika, again,
Thank
for being with
you.
us. Thank you.